Orla. What I would like to ask the Minister is, Minister, have you impressed upon Government the urgency to ratify the optional protocol of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and which would allow people with disabilities to take a case to the UN over violation of their rights? And do you, Minister, yourself believe that the State needs to progress the adoption of the optional protocol as a matter of urgency?
Thanks very much, Deputy. So look, as you know, we ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities on 20th of March 2018, and this marked an important milestone in that process to strengthen the rights of people with disabilities, and had been gathering momentum since we first became a signatory in 2007. And Ireland's approach to meeting the obligations of the UN CRPD is one of progressive realisation, each year moving forward on key reforms, with the obligations arising from the Convention being met over time. An initial priority would have been given to meeting the legislative commitments and requirements. So I recognise the importance, and I know Minister Rabbitte does too, of the optional protocol. And as the Deputy will be aware, the optional protocol is an international treaty that establishes those procedures aimed at strengthening the implementation and the monitoring of the Convention. And the ratification of the optional protocol, it is a commitment in the programme for government, and in the programme for government it was stated as happening after Ireland's first state review before the UN Committee. So due to delays at UN level, Ireland's appearance before the committee will now be delayed. So both myself and Minister Rabbitte, we've indicated our openness to undertaking ratification before our first review before the UN Committee. But we also are conscious that we want to have the processes in place domestically, so we're not signing up to something that we're already in breach of because we haven't made the changes internationally, and I think that's sensible. So in this regard, a key point of that is the Assisted Decision Making Capacity Act. As you know, that was passed in 2015. It's never been operationalised. We brought forward and had a lengthy debate at second stage yesterday, which will conclude today, in terms of the 2022 bill that will operationalise that and make some reforms to that. And we see that as a key point in terms of ensuring we're ready for full ratification. So alongside that, ratification of the optional protocol does require a review of existing domestic remedies for breaches of the Convention in order to ensure that the State can meet those obligations. So my department is undertaking that review at the moment. We're examining the final requirements for ratification, and we will bring that forward as part of our implementation plan for the UN CRPD.
Minister, Ireland has come in for a lot of criticism by the United Nations for its failure to ratify the UN Protocol on Rights for People with Disability. Marcus Schaefer, a member of the UN Committee on the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, said it suggests Ireland, and I'm quoting him, Ireland is not confident or comfortable enough to open itself up to international scrutiny. Now, Mr Schaefer at that time was speaking to our joint Oireachtas Committee on Disability Matters. Ireland signed the Convention, as you said, in 2007, but it took us 11 years to actually implement it. 11 years, Minister. In 2020, Government promised to sign up the optional protocol. I understand we've been delayed by the UN now, but we're 2 years further on. And when I took little Leo Dixon here to the Dáil, although every member was notified, only a handful of those elected turned up to meet and greet Leo Dixon, a wheelchair user, a disability person. And what I'd say is, in enabling the protocol, that would enable people. Was that 2 minutes?
No, it was 1 minute. But you'll get a chance to come back in with another minute.
Thank you. God bless us. Yeah. I have so much to say, Minister.
We'll try and say it in 60 seconds.
Thanks, Deputy, and I take on board your passion in this area. And look, I absolutely agree in terms of that long delay between signatory and ratification. And I see that in the context of the Assisted Decision Making Act passed in 2015, still not operationalised, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so committed to actually implementing the implementing the Assisted Decision Making Act and removing wardship. And wardship is one of the key areas where we are so out of line with what we should be providing for persons with capacity impairments in terms of the UN CRPD. But let me be very clear, we'd set out a timeline in the programme for government signing up to the optional protocol after our first review. Our first review has been pushed back by the UN. We're not saying, OK, we still have to wait. We're open to doing it prior to the first review, and getting assisted decision making passed is a key part of that.
And that's That we do have to wait. That's what we committed to. But ultimately, we're not alone. There are 10 other countries who haven't signed up to it. But 13% of Ireland's population have a disability. And I'm a new TD, but when I was canvassing with these groups, they told me that they only see politicians every 5 years, which means it was election time. In 2020, when we actually said that we would sign up to the protocol, it was an election ploy. That's their feeling, and that is discriminatory. 13% of African Americans are 13% of America's population are African Americans. Do you think we'd get away with discriminating in the same way in that population cohort? No, we wouldn't, and we shouldn't be doing it here. It's shambolic, and we need to recognise the 13% and give them the right, the Leo Dixons of this world, to have somewhere to go to make their complaint when we can't do it as a government. Thank you.
Minister, to conclude.
Well, I think in the previous government, a commitment was made to finally ratify the UN CRPD, and it happened. At the start of this government, we made a commitment to put a greater focus on disability by creating a department and taking disability out of the HSE. So there is that stronger focus, take disability out of the Department of Health. So there is that stronger focus on disability, recognising the specific needs of that 13% of the population, and that is happening. We've made a commitment to ratify, to implement the Assisted Decision Making Act, and that is happening in terms of the legislation as well. So I believe we will sign up to the optional protocol within the lifetime of this government. But I think it is important that we have the steps put in place domestically so it can actually deliver for people through the processes that are established. It is a priority.
Deputy Murphy, I'm not sure. Did you mean anything in relation to your reference to the Afro-American? But I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was necessary, but I don't think you meant anything. So.
Well, I think it's the significance that it's 13% of a smaller population, but nonetheless it wouldn't be tolerated.
I'm not sure if it's helpful to make it like that. But
well, Black Lives Matter, disability matters.
All lives matter. Okay, I'm just not.